Good morning. It's the Pinstripe Chronicles. This is your host, Donald, and I got my co-host, Luca, and Uncle T. A grizzly, tired Uncle T this morning. But we are going to be bringing some Yankee news to all you guys. So the first thing you got to do is, you know what you got to do? You got to hit the like button. That's what you got to do. You got to hit the like button. You got to share. You got to sub. You got to do all the good stuff because we want this channel to grow and we want to continue to have this conversation. So the big conversation will be Aaron Judge, his health. We knew something wasn't right. His numbers are not indicative of Aaron Judge. I mean, I guess the major tell is that he's batting .248, which was unheard of for Aaron Judge. I mean, normally he's at worst in the 280s, 290s, early 300s. That's just the kind of hitter he is. He's that good. He was failing to really get around on the ball and absolutely crush it, which he's normally doing. And then obviously I had to say, like, something flagged to me when we had that at bat with 7 straight strikeouts. So I was like, there's something not right here. Something's not right with Aaron Judge. And I don't know if it's purely old age, because I think this is quite a dramatic drop off from last year where he was like basically a triple crown guy, batting like .330, and dude, he could have hit 60, 70 home runs if he really wanted to last year. He was that good. Massive drop off this year, and I suspect that this is partially, or not, if not entirely, to do with one of the dives that he made in right field, where he was diving out, stretching, and with that big frame, your body flopping straight on the ground, you could fracture a rib. And I have a feeling it was that, because he made a couple of big time diving plays, that saved some runs, but it may have cost him, moving forward a couple months. So that's the trade-off, and it's not a good trade-off. But it's hard to know exactly what caused it, but that's my suspicion. So basically, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. What do you guys think?
Well, first off, good morning to you guys. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Listen, unfortunately, it's getting to that point where kind of Judge is getting, speaking honestly, Judge is getting into that Stanton realm where he's going to hit the IL at some point every season. And it's unfortunate. Now, I think the narrative of it's because of his size and his age, and this is what we all expected. No, this is not. And the difference between this narrative that Judge and Stanton are becoming parallels is a lot of Judge's injury issues are because of him really just playing balls out and making the plays. So I think that's where it's a little different. It's not the body type, it's the aggressiveness he plays with. And it's like, would we rather him not go for the ball because he's afraid of getting hurt, or would we rather him just make the play, and cross your fingers? I think that's where we're at with Judge with his career. I don't think that his prime is peaked already. I don't think so at all. So we saw the numbers starting to drop, and it was obvious that something just wasn't right. And it's unfortunate because we get everything always seems to unravel when the calendar hits June, right? Whether it's the an unfortunate injury, you can't say unforeseen, because you can't predict when a player's going to get injured. You have a starting pitching matchup with Cleveland, where your rotation is Schlittler, Cole, and Rodon. You're feeling pretty good going into that series. Not overly confident. Cleveland's a good team. They're in first place. They're above 500, which is the kind of record that against teams the Yankees have struggled with. Yeah, so you knew it was going to be a battle. I didn't think it was going to go as badly as it did. More so, with Schlitler and Cole. If anybody you thought was going to have that rough outing, it would have been Rodon. He had the better outing. So it's that's why it's baseball so unpredictable. And how games are gonna have their outcome. Wait,
I got to push back on something, Uncle T. You're saying something about injury proneness. Aaron Judge last year had played 152 games. In 2024, he played 158 games. Then he had that toe injury when he ran into the wall. So 2023 is a write-off. But then obviously the season before, where he hit 62 home runs, he played 157 games. Season before that, 148 games, and then obviously this year he played basically every single game until his injury. Who's saying that he's injury prone?
That's I've seen it online and I've heard it in my day-to-day interactions with people.
Well, I mean,
they feel like this is going to be the trend, and I'm like, this is not the trend. I'm arguing against that narrative, not arguing for it. Judge is not
I get that. But even
He's
just
an
bring it
aggressive
into
player.
I get that, but even just bringing that into the atmosphere is just like, is that really true? Like, the people that you interact
with, not true. Really but the people that I talk to, exactly. But that was going to you kind of threw out my closing argument. You threw out already. I'm like, if you think that Aaron Jones
so long to get there,
it
took 5 minutes to get there.
I know.
You got Luca in the chat. What's going on, Luca? Good to hear from you.
First appearance on Kron's this week. What's up to y'all? What's up to Don? What's up to Tats? What's up to everybody? Happy Friday. Very good Friday indeed. Hope everybody's positive, except for the fact that obviously Judge is hurt. So some numbers now. These are outdated statistics, but for Aaron Judge, through May 3rd, which he had 150 plate appearances, he had 264, 403 slugging, or I should say 403 on base percentage, 628 slugging, 182 weighted runs created plus, 13 home runs with a 454 expected on base. I think that was expected on base percentage or expecting batting average. Aaron Judge since May 4th, 111 plate appearances, 226 average, 336 on base percentage, 409 slugging, 105 weighted runs created plus, 4 home runs, and 362, I think is also expected batting average, something like that. Yeah, it's expected weighted on base average.
That's when he got hurt? Would you say that's when he got hurt?
He had, if you guys remember, go back to Donald, you're essentially getting to my point. Go back to May 3rd when he made that catch against the wall against the Orioles, where he almost took a home run away. He kind of hit his rib against the wall. Right. And that's when people insinuating, say, hey, he actually might have got hurt against the Orioles. This might have been the time of the injury. Now, obviously, Judge, I guess, probably wanted to play through the injury. Maybe he's feeling discomfort early on. Was it the Yankees' fault for not immediately saying, hey, maybe we should check on this? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But I want to bring this up, and obviously, Chad, you guys can answer this. People are bringing up this parallel to 2023, right? Judge gets hurt, toe injury, Dodger Stadium 3 years ago. I'd say this rotation is better, but also, as in this year's rotation, you obviously have Rodon. You obviously have Cole and Schlittler and Fried and all these different guys pitching their asses off. The bullpen's arguably worse than 2023. But the problem is, what about the rest of our offense? And I get it. We had the carcass of DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Hicks, and Josh Donaldson still in that lineup. It's not as bad as that, but do we really trust this lineup to get through to trudge us through August? The answer is no. Brian Cashman has to make a move. Is it bad as 2023? I don't think so. But at the same time, it could be a scenario like 2018. You guys remember Aaron Judge gets hit on the arm, on the hand by Jacob Junis, goes on the IL. Stan has to carry the team. Well, here's the bad news. Stanton's also hurt. So now you have Ben Rice, Cody Bellinger, and anybody's guess of who could carry this team. That's the truth.
That's
So now which I'll ask you the guys, which scenario do you think is this closer to? Is this closer to 2023, or is this going to be closer to 2018 where you might have confidence where maybe there's a move inside where Spencer Jones is obviously coming up as well. It's going to be a big spot for him. Which is more similar? Is this similar to 23 or 18?
Uncle Tats? I think we need to see how the next couple of series play out before we could really, put some numbers behind our answer. I'm hoping it'd be more like 18, where with that next man up season, that's what you're hoping for. But right now, with the way that this offense has gone, and Spencer Jones being called up, who did not have a successful first run. It's hard to just say that, the Yankees are still going to be able to soldier on. I need to see it first. Not that I think that the season is over, not by any stretch. But I think that we don't have enough evidence, from this season that the Yankees can kind of keep their heads above water, waiting for Judge to come back, waiting for Stanton to come back. What's going on with Dominguez? I mean, I know Stanton and Dominguez, they're taking live BP now, which is a positive sign. We're getting, our pitching is as great as it's been, is getting healthier, but there's also been no updates on Fried and when he's coming back to rotation. The bullpen is just complete garbage. So, I don't know. I can't answer that question right now. And it's unfortunate. I would love to be able to be like, history and statistics say that this is what can happen. But this is also Brian Cashman's Yankees. Expect the unexpected and predict nothing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we can really make a decision right now whether this is 2018 or 2023. What I will say is this team's better than 2023. However, I also think that its major strength in the lineup is gone. Right now, they have no righty power. I mean, we could argue Goldschmidt, but really prime power not there. With Stanton out and Aaron Judge out, where's the power coming from the right side? That's going to be so much easier to pitch against this Yankee lineup. Essentially, you have to be insane to pitch to Rice. There is no reason to pitch to Ben Rice now.
But now there's no protection.
Exactly. There's no reason to pitch to him. Just walk him. And I would take my chances to everybody else because the rest of the lineup can be, you can get outs from. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're already 3 or 4 automatic outs. McMahon's an automatic out. Grisham's an automatic out. Wells is an automatic out. I mean, that's already 3. And then we've not even gone to, Jazz hasn't had a great year so far. And then, if Spencer Jones is playing, he looked overmatched. So maybe, he looked overmatched. I'm sorry. I hate to say it because I love Spencer Jones. But so there's going to be a bunch of automatic outs in this lineup. Probably half the lineup that are going to be automatic outs. And I don't know how they're going to navigate that over the course of 2 months. And when it says 4 to 6 weeks, I have to also say that's when they're going to evaluate him in 4 to 6 weeks. It's not he's going to be back in 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to evaluate him in 4 to 6 weeks. So I watched a video from a doctor who talked about that specific type of injury. Okay. So it's kind of like right here, right? Right about there. And he said that in the motion of swinging, all your muscles are around about here. There's so many muscles that are pulling, contracting, all this stuff right here. So if you're going in the motion of swinging, power swing, a lot of torque. you're going to be feeling that pain. And if you keep doing that, you're just going to aggravate it, and then you're going to absolutely fracture it if you don't rest it. So he has to completely rest this. This is a thing where it has to be 100% healed by the time he's back, because if, and repetitive, the repetitive motion of that swing, if it's not fully healed, it's going to fracture. And then you're talking a long, long time out, because it's a very difficult injury to recover from. Luka.
Yeah, I was also going to add also his throwing motion. I'm sure that's going to affect his throwing motion as well from right field. Obviously, they would have probably DH for a time. But yesterday, before the rib diagnosis came out, there was a report or somebody mentioned thoracic outlet syndrome. Now, Donald knows this. Tats probably doesn't know about this. A couple of years ago, 2017, there was a first-round NBA lottery pick, first overall, by the name of Markelle Fultz. He was selected by the Philadelphia 76ers. When they said thoracic outlet syndrome with Judge, that scared the hell out of me, because it ruined Fultz's career, the thoracic outlet syndrome. Fultz was athletic. He could pass. He was seen as like the next great point guard, next great athletic point guard. Don't remember the comps, but not the point. When Fultz was diagnosed and he went up to the free throw line, he would hesitate his motion because of the pain, where Donald said, right by the rib, right by the shoulder, where he would hesitate. Like, you could go look up a video. I think it was like a game against the Miami Heat where he was like hesitating with that arm motion. And that was the biggest problem with
That's
Fultz.
interesting.
That thoracic outlet syndrome, I don't know if there's a surgery that you could, recover from that. I don't think there is.
No.
But it's like you kind of have to treat it throughout your entire career, and Fultz was never the same. Fultz never panned out because of that injury. That's what would scare me about Judge, because you don't want his career to go out that way. You don't.
No.
Thankfully, it was not thoracic outlet syndrome. I mean, you guys could do more research on it, but when I heard that, I was like, oh, that is not a good sign. But it's not a good sign regardless that he's hurt. It's just a little bit of sigh relief.
No, it's definitely a sigh of relief, bro, because it's a recovery that can be done. With that doctor that I was watching describing it, he said that, it could be a case of 1 month, or it could be the case of 2 months. You know what I'm saying? So, it could be 11 to 12 weeks, something around about that range, that you see him back to himself. And it's the question is, obviously, wish Aaron Judge the best. The question is, do the Yankees have enough that they can withstand that for 11 to 12 weeks? I don't think you're going to see him until August. It's basically the entire month of May. So the entire month of June he's going to be out. The entire month of July he's going to be out. That's you're looking at 2 months, and then I think he's going to be back in time for the August trade deadline. Start of August, I think you'd probably expect him back for the stretch run. Now, do the Yankees have enough to get him to the stretch run? That's the big question. As I say, they'll have half a batting lineup at best. Best will in the world. I know there's a lot of optimists out there, but you also have to look at the numbers. They have half a lineup. That's just the facts. Yeah. And they barely have half a bullpen. Barely. I'd even say maybe even have like 2 members of the bullpen that you kind of like. One being Cruz, one being
Bednar.
Yeah, and even Bednar scares the hell out of you. So
and so does Cruz.
Right. So that's two guys in the bullpen. That's not nearly enough.
And they
but they have an amazing starting rotation. So they do have that. So they're gonna keep games close. But do the Yankees have enough bats to withstand this? I don't think so. I don't. I think that they're gonna really struggle. I don't think they're gonna collapse and be out of the playoffs like in 2023. But I think that they're gonna fall out of the chances of winning a division. Personally, I could see them flatline. They're going to be below 500 in terms of like from between here and August, they're going to be below 500 over these next 2 months, in my opinion. I really do. I just don't think they have enough offense. I think you're going to see a lot of games like yesterday where the Yankees won 2-1, and I could see it being a lot of those kind of type games. I think it'll be a lot of pitching duels. It's just where's the offense coming from? Luka.
Yeah, what's funny? I was actually just looking up trade deadline targets right now. I was looking at Yankee pages as well the past couple of days. Some trade targets that come up to mind. You have Isak Paredes. I think he's hitting like 238 on the year with the Stros. He has like a barely above 100 OPS. I think it's like a 102 OPS plus. Some other names, Shea Langoliers of the Oakland Athletics the Athletics is having a really damn good year. Last time I checked, he's hitting 298. He's got like 13 home runs. So that's a thing to monitor. Although I will say this, I will caution this with the names that I mentioned, not specifically with the teams that I mentioned. The American League, as we've mentioned, is an absolute mess. So we don't, because look at the Athletics, right? They are 30-32, 2.5 games back in their division, but they lead the wild card. Does Oakland really want to move off of Shea Langoliers?
No, I don't see it.
Think about, let's go with the Minnesota Twins, right? They're 2 games back of the wild card, 29-35. They have Ryan Jeffers. Jeffers is having a good season. The problem is he just had surgery for a hamate injury. Hamate injury is on your hand. Now, I forget specifically where, not the point. So that's something to monitor. Do you really want to get a guy who's coming off surgery? Same thing for another name, Willie Castro. He was mentioned as a target. Hunter Goodman of the Rockies. He's also a name that's come up. Catcher for the Rockies. If I can pull up his numbers, I will this second.
No more players from the Rockies. It's not working for us.
Please. Jeez.
So Goodman on the season, he's actually having a pretty decent season, 244, 314 on-base percentage, 816 OPS, 15 home runs, 27 RBIs from the right side. But yeah, that's the extent. That is the extent of the right-handed hitters that are out there. But as I said, I raise caution because especially in the American League, like the guys like Jeffers and Castro and Paredes, their teams might be bad, but they're not out of it because the American League is such a dumpster fire. I stress that to you all. You know, as I said, Langolier is having a phenomenal season, but the price tag might be high because teams are like, you know, we might not be that good, but neither is the rest of the American League. Exactly. So we have a showing as much as anybody.
Well, that's why I want to throw the question out because Spencer brings up in the chat that, you know, because of the, you know, and a few people, you know, with the weakness of the American League, you know, the Yankees may not be, you know, this may not put them as far behind the 8 ball as, you know, they would have been last year. But you also know that when teams play the Yankees, they up their game. They always, you know, they always somehow, you know, the worst team looks like they're full of all-stars when it comes to seeing that uniform. So I don't think that's, you know, it's a fair argument to make, but I don't think it's a definitive, you know, I don't think there's a definitive result. The Yankees are going to be able to, you know, dominate without Judge in the lineup because you're taking the bats out of your other big guys. You know, you don't have that 3-headed monster right now with Judge, Rice, and Bellinger. You know, Goldschmidt's been hot, but he's not an everyday player. You know, he's needed to be, and he's done fine. You know, believe me, I think he's the one player that's actually defeating Father Time.
Oh, Bellinger's fantastic.
Yeah, but I'm not, you know, the rotation, no concerns at all. You know, but some of the players that, you know, out of the pen that we were relying on are just honest trash this year. Tim Hill completely and a lot of it is Boone cannot manage a bullpen, you know, at all because Tim Hill's overused. We already talked a couple, you know, earlier in the week, late last week, about how Bednar has, you know, thrown more pitches already than he probably did last year in the, you know, at the All-Star break. You know, so you see, you know, and also, you know, Jake Bird, nope.
Disaster.
Duvall
Disaster.
is not a disaster. That's an abomination. What he does on the mound for the Yankees, he's complete trash.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't sit here and be like, well, because the American League is weak, the Yankees could survive. These next couple of weeks is good. That's where this team is really going to be tested, if they are a playoff team or not. Because if they really are a playoff team, then they should be able to withstand the loss of the captain and keep their heads above water in the standings. It's if Dominguez was healthy and he was getting the call up, I may have a little more confidence because he was swinging a bat a lot better before he got hurt, and Spencer Jones just hasn't really, caught fire yet.
Yeah, we'll see what he's going to be like. I do want to touch on Spencer Jones in a minute. We're going to talk we're going to get through the chat here. We've got a lot of good comments here, especially one from Armand I want to bring up. But yeah, Luca, you mentioned Jeffers. According to Joel Sherman, he's our main target. So once he recovers from that hammock, the Yankees are going to probably make a run at Jeffers to acquire him to be that righty power catcher. So just as an interesting note there. Now, Armand, he's got a suggestion here. Casey Schmidt of the Giants could be a trade piece. He's hitting 280. Wow. 844 OPS, 140 OPS plus is good. 13 home runs and 35 RBIs. He can play first, second, third. Sure. Sign me up. Yes, please. Those are great numbers, and I love the fact that he's versatile and can play a number of positions. A lot of the positions that we really need right there. We're covered at first, but every other position, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and he also points out that he's actually playing right field as well, due to the injury to Heliot Ramos. So that's interesting. I would definitely look to make that trade if you could. I wonder what the cost would be, but that is a very good comment there. Thank you, Armand. Okay, so we got Elliot. He's got lots of comments. We'll go through them quickly. Unfortunate news about Judge. At least it's not summer season ending. Exactly. Very disappointing, though. He's going to miss the heart of the summer. Yeah, it does. It is a shame, of course. Understandably, we're going to hear fans start to shout June Swoon, but I wouldn't jump to that conclusion so fast, he says. Okay. The Yankees have the best rotation. I agree. Some more often than not, they will keep the team in games. I mean, yeah, it will keep them in games. The 2026 AL very weak. There's still only a handful of teams that are at 500. Exactly. That's true. I mean, it might not be as bad. That's why I'm saying like it might not be a situation 2023 where they'll completely capsize, but I do think that there's an element of Yankee tinted glasses here. I'll be honest. They should be okay until Judge returns. I don't know if they're going to be okay. I really don't. I don't know how okay they're going to be. I think that they're going to still be in the race by the time we get to August, but where? I don't know. I'd be shocked if they're in first place. I don't see any scenario they're going to be in first place. I think they're going to be a number of games back at second place, and I think that the losing that they're going to have over the next 2 months, you're going to see the Orioles and the Blue Jays catch up on them. The Orioles and the Blue Jays are not that far off. I know if you look at the standings, they're being 500, but they're only about 7 wins behind, and that could be caught up fast over a 2-month period. The Blue Jays, they just need to. I mean, the Blue Jays could make some nice moves too, and then they could overtake the Yankees. There's no reason why they wouldn't.
I also want to add, Donald, you've mentioned previously that the Blue Jays have been essentially injured from hell and back. So
yeah,
as those players start to recover, I wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Jays make a jump. But also, I want to mention two things. Number one, I get that we have this great rotation, but I feel like I just don't want to be in a position where we're going to have to milk the hell out of them because we have such a bad bullpen, because we have such a below average starting lineup surrounding Aaron Judge, where it's like, okay, the starting pitching can only allow so many runs and they have to pitch so many innings. Like, I just don't want to milk them I don't want to exhaust them. I don't want to exhaust them until when they get to October. That's, I think, the big problem. Yes, it's elite. Rodon and Cole and Schlittler and all of that. That's great. But the problem is I don't want to overuse them. That's my biggest fear. That's my biggest fear when they head into October, number one. Number two, before Dallin gets back to the comments, Casey Schmidt obviously having a phenomenal year, as Dallin pointed out from Armin's comment. But with these, as I stress this, I can't stress this enough. With all these teams being so bad yet in the race, the Yankees are going to have competition this year. So the Giants might raise the Yankees and say, hey, I want prospects X, Y, and Z. But for like a team like the A's or the Mariners, they'd be like, okay, I only want this, this, and this. So you have to be very careful. The Yankees have to be very mindful of which players they go out for. And I'm not saying that they should they should just go for the bare minimum. But last year, they didn't exactly go all in. They still have a third base issue. They gave up prospects for McMahon. Hasn't worked out. So now you got to weigh your options where Cashman might overcorrect and say, you know what, I gave up a decent amount of prospects. Now I don't want to give up those prospects for a young guy like Casey Schmidt who's actually playing well.
It's a great point, and I agree with the fact, and I'm so glad you mentioned the fact all in. I really wanted to emphasize this, right? This is why when you have the opportunity to go all in, you have to go all in. But they haven't done it. And that's my major criticism of Brian Cashman. I know that there's a lot of people with Yankee tinted glasses, and that's fine. Root how you want to root. But the reality is we have had numerous opportunities with Aaron Judge where you take advantage of his window and you go all in while he's healthy, while he's playing 162 games, and while he is his best self. That's why you have to take advantage of the window. So when we didn't take advantage of that window in 2024, and we didn't take advantage of that window last year, and we didn't take advantage of him in that year that we hit 62 home runs where you put a better team around him, when consequently he gets older and then an unfortunate injury happens, this is what happens. This is why you have to take advantage of your window. But the Yankees refuse to do it. The Yankees refuse to take advantage of windows. What did Brian Cashman say? He says, oh, I'm not too worried about windows. He did say that. And I mean, that's malfeasance. That's the definition of malfeasance. And so, frankly, I am not surprised. I'm not surprised. Now, this injury was a freak injury, but I'm not surprised that we've gotten to a point where we are so much like, oh, what are we going to do now when Judge is out? Because we don't have much of a team around him. That's just the reality. We don't. We got a good rotation, but we don't have much of a lineup around him. And that's what happens when you don't build properly. And I mean, I want to point out, if you guys like the NFL, go check what the Rams are doing. Go check what the Rams are doing. They have a window. They've got Matt Stafford, who's a little older, but they know he can throw the hell out of the football. So they're like, right, we've got ourselves a quarterback, but he's older. Got to take advantage of the Super Bowl window. What have they done? Made a trade for Myles Garrett. They traded one of their cornerstone players in Jared Verse, put him in a package to get Myles Garrett because Myles Garrett is an elite edge rusher, the best of the best, right? They're taking advantage of their window. Then they were like, right, we really need a corner, right? We're going to steal the best corner in the league from the Chiefs, right? That's taking advantage of your window because you have to win within that window because that's a GM that recognizes that window. You look at the Knicks. What did the Knicks GM, Leon Rose, do? Right, we've got a window with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is our captain. He is our talisman. He is our hero, right? But we got a window here. You're not going to have him forever. We got to put a team around him. What have they done? Made controversial trades, but the trades worked. Get Karl Anthony Towns in the building. Get Mikal Bridges in the building. Right? We've got a really good head coach, but we could get better. We need to do that better. Constantly looking to upgrade. And where are they now? They're 3 games away from being a champion, an NBA champion. That for the first time in our lifetime since the freaking 70s. So this is what we're talking about. This is taking advantage of a window, and then you look at the Dodgers. Okay, you want to talk baseball for people that don't watch football, basketball? Fine. The Dodgers. They got a window. They got Ohtani. They have an Ohtani window. And what have they done with that Ohtani window? How about everything? Everything possible. Freaking Yamamoto, all the best of the best of the best. Kyle Tucker, you know it. Freddie Freeman, the whole lot. That is a team that recognizes a window. And then you look at the Yankees, and you have Brian Cashman, that egotistical dickhead who refuses to look at windows. He's just like, no, it's not my responsibility. I'm not responsible for windows. Yes, you are. You are responsible for windows. So although this injury isn't his fault, the fact that we don't have a great team around him is his fault. And the fact you didn't take advantage of a window when you had Aaron Judge hitting 62 home runs, hitting 50-plus home runs on an annual basis, and you didn't put a team around him, you always took the B move instead of the A move. You're always like, no, I don't want to move this prospect, even though I have no plan for that prospect. I'm going to protect him with all my life, and I'm going to gaslight you all about Anthony Volpe, and I'm not going to move him to get better. No. What you have done is you've made excuses because you're egotistical, and your ego won't allow you to move aside on some players that need to be moved in order to get better. So, frankly, Brian Cashman deserves this. Yes, you do. You deserve this, Brian. You deserve this. Now, what we're looking at is a team without Aaron Judge. This is the guy that he wanted to walk, by the way. Don't forget, Brian Cashman wanted Aaron Judge to walk. Yes, he did. He wanted Aaron Judge to walk. He wanted him to test free agency. And what did we see without Aaron Judge in 2023? We were in a complete and utter catastrophe of a baseball team for a massive payroll, right? And what are we going to see this year? I'm not going to say it's going to be a catastrophe, but it's not going to be good. And this is what happens when you don't take advantage of windows. So, Aaron Judge, I wish you the best. Yankee management, I don't wish you the best because you have failed to take advantage of a window. And now that he's finally getting older and he's finally getting hurt and you have no idea what to do, that's on you. So I had to get that rant out the way. That's
I want
because
to make 2 quick points real quick, Don.
Yeah.
Number one, you talked in the offseason about overcorrecting, how Cashman not only did that with the bullpen, but the bats. We are 2 lefty. We used to be 2 right-handed. Now we're 2 left-handed. You go back 4 years ago, the Yankees were 2 right-handed. They trade for Anthony Rizzo, Joey Gallo. Now the Yankees need right-handed bats, which they need a guy like Casey Schmidt and Ryan Jeffers. Now you look at this year, and another thing, I keep bringing this up. I can't stress this enough. Every single offseason, Brian Cashman, what's the word I'm looking for? Procrastinates a position.
Yes.
Procrastinates a position. Waits till the deadline where it's more costly to trade for a player of a certain position, whether it's bullpen, whether it's infield help. Procrastinates a position. Yandy Diaz, I've been saying that name for years. I would still trade for him today, except that he plays for the Rays, and they're the number 1 in the division right now. And also, while Donald also goes through the comments, I'd like to hear Tats. Tats, please sound off too.
Yeah. No, look, I'm absorbing everything that's going on right now with the Yankees. The biggest problem is the management. They're the focal point, though. They should be getting all of the blame. it's not Sheeman's fault. He's nobody even knew who he was before he was on this roster. Wells is to blame. It's Wells. Jazz is having a terrible year. In a contract year, which is surprising. That's usually when players are at their best. I'm putting all the blame on the leadership, and I think this is the leadership across the board. Right,
Yes.
a couple weeks ago we ranked it all. Like those are the figureheads of why this team is where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily now that we have Cole back, maybe Cole, even though it has nothing to do with the offense, can kind of get these guys heads on straight. Maybe he and Goldschmidt just get this team right. As far as the locker room morale, because I can't imagine it would be the morale in that locker room is high right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where they can't afford to wait for the deadline, but Luca, to what you were saying earlier, there's no team that's out of it. Which is why we were saying, we also said a couple of weeks ago, before all of this, who knows what the trade deadline's even going to look like. So there's so many probabilities of where the next 4 to 6 weeks can go. It might not matter if if they need to rush him back. They're either going to be ahead enough where they can give him time to because that 4 to 6. That's just till he goes to his next testing.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? It could be mid-August before he steps on the field again. And you hope it's with the Yankees and not, that's when he starts his rehab. Because there's also a rehab process he's gonna have to go through. So there's a lot on the plate of management right now. And I don't think they're as hungry as we are as fans to take care of what's on that plate.
No.
That's my concern going forward right now.
The closest they went to going all in was in 2024 when they got Juan Soto, but they still didn't go all in.
No.
Because they went and got Marcus. Yeah, because they went and got Marcus Stroman and Verdugo. And then they could have moved on from both of them. They could have moved on from Verdugo in the July deadline, and they did nothing.
Could you imagine how further along Dominguez could have been if he was sharing the outfield on a daily basis with Judge and Soto?
Yeah.
But no, we got and that's where the Yankees always shoot themselves in the foot. Because in the beginning of the year, it looked like they were running on a meritocracy.
Yeah.
Until Volpe was healthy, and then everything went right back to the way it used to be. Same old Yankees. Let's play our favorites, and everybody else fuck off. What's going on, Celso?
What's up, Celso?
I can't wrap my head around what's going on. Because there's so many things to process at once. I can only imagine, really, to be honest, I can only imagine the stress and the pressure that Cashman's under. But he's paid to have those stresses.
Right.
He's the one that's been here since the Yankees, I think, put on pinstripes for the first time. That's how long his tenure feels. That he should already have all the answers already out. He should have all these game plans already planned out with his exorbitant, analytic team. Like nobody saw this coming.
Right. I want to pick up on a great comment from Stuff and Thanks. I understand Aaron Judge had such an unfortunate injury. However, the Yankee lineup has no depth to withstand his loss. Preach. I can't see how it gets better. Yeah, that's my point. You look at this lineup and there is significant holes right through this lineup that you shouldn't have, regardless of Judge's injury, with a $300+ million payroll. I mean, you look at this lineup. I mean, Jazz is a question mark at best. He has upside, but he's a question mark. We have our boy at shortstop. That's fine, but they also love Volpe. If you play Volpe, then that's you're probably looking at an out there. McMahon's is an automatic out. You got catcher. Both of them are automatic outs. Right field's a question mark now. That's probably an automatic out. Center field is an automatic out. But you got Bellinger, who's great. And then you've got Rice at first. Great. So that's 2. We can maybe add Goldschmidt. That's 3. Am I missing any other bats there? You know what I'm saying? Like, they basically got 3 or 4 bats in the lineup at best. It's really hard to and there's so little power. The only power, legit power in this lineup is Rice. So I understand it's very unfortunate that Aaron Judge is hurt, but it's also your fault for not having enough power in this lineup. This is what happens. Anything can happen in baseball. Injuries happen, but you also have to have some sense of knowing how to take advantage of windows and have some power from the right side. Excuse me, and they just don't have it. I mean, it's complete malfeasance. And Healing Man's Heart's here. Cashman is cooked. He can't make any moves. Exactly. There's very few trade chips. Yep. And too many holes to fill. Completely agree. Healing Man's Hearts also agrees with Tats. This organization is a Jenga tower. I do agree. That's actually a really good analogy for the Yankees. It's like a Jenga tower. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, okay, we survived. Oh, fuck, we're fucked. You know what I mean? That's what you know what I'm saying? That's what it is. And Lou says here, as long as we make the playoffs, it's a positive for Hal, and that's the thing. John the Beagle Dad, I don't think the Yankee top management even know how to take advantage like that, and they sure do not have that chess-like strategical mind that is needed. Preach! Well said, John the Beagle Dad. Completely agree. Give Cashman credit for Schumann. He can play right field in the meantime. He makes more contact than half the lineup. Yeah, I quite like Schumann.
He's not a bust.
Yeah. He's fine, but he's not an answer.
No.
Healing Man's Heart stress fractures can sometimes take 12 weeks to heal. Oh, well, I mean, if that's the case, then forget about it. I think the Yankees are going to struggle, and I think between now and Aaron Judge's recovery, I think they're going to be 500, below 500 in the games. I'm not going to say we're going to finish below 500. I'm saying in the span between now and when Aaron Judge recovers, I think we're probably going to be slightly below 500 in these games. If that stretches to August 27th, then we can't withstand that. That's finished.
I want to add in here one. I think that we're gonna have to come back to the evaluation of this team. Like Donald, you did a great job the other day with with your grades. But I think that it's also now with the equation now that with the equation of Judge, and also in the timing because it's June. I mean, this could be bad.
Yeah,
I think we need to reevaluate this in a couple of weeks and grade how the Yankees have adjusted without him this year with such a I don't want to say a crap roster. I couldn't crack a major league roster. They can. Right, so I don't want to discredit the accomplishments that these players have had, but they're not to the caliber of a championship team that the GM believes they are. And Cashman, with NES's comment. Look, I never have an issue with giving Boone, Cashman, Hal credit when it's due. Cashman has made good moves. So to say, when we say that he's lost his step a little bit, it's not that he's completely inept. It's sometimes I think he panics. Because a lot of GMs are like, they don't trip over our prospects like we do. Like we think every prospect is going to be a Hall of Famer. That's just it's in the rule book of being a fan, right? We don't make the rules. We just try to follow them as best we can. but I think that other teams are catching on that. Really, what prospect have we traded? Have we actually had to regret because they were such a phenomenal player in their career? So
Peraza.
other GMs are catching on that not everybody's going to pan out. They're gonna be a contributor to a team, but GMs are kind of like, well, you coveted this guy. We don't see why. So
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
I think the prices
Well,
have adjusted.
Wolf, for sure, I agree. But there are some that have been very good players, and one of which is actually playing in Anaheim right now.
Peraza, he's
Peraza.
he's actually having a really good year.
So I told you guys. I told you so. I told
does
you
he have the
so.
same success if he's in this organization?
No, not a chance.
Exactly.
Not a chance.
Bingo.
Not a chance. Because of the whole launch angle thing, and because management never trusted Peraza. I said from get-go, give Peraza an opportunity.
Yeah, he always saying he thinks
guys like Spencer said Peraza wasn't good. Peraza is good. He's very good. He just needed an opportunity. He never got one here. But Healing Man's Heart saying the schedule is going to get tougher. Boston and Toronto are going to lick their chops. I agree with that. And then also we got the NL schedule coming up. We got some top games. Let's have a look at this schedule. To see where Boston is actually on the easier end of the schedule, and that's still not easy because it's still Boston, and it's going to be without Big G and Aaron Judge, two Boston killers. We're kind of down two Boston killers. Then we got the Guardians, and the Guardians kind of took care of us this series. Then we got the Blue Jays, and by the time we face them, maybe they could get a little bit more healthy. They could take care of us. The White Sox, they should take care of us. The Reds probably will take care of us. That gets us to the Tigers. Tigers have a very good team. They do. But for some reason, it's not happening for them. We'll see. We'll see. That's something that we could do okay in. But again, they've got a really good lineup. So are you that confident? I'm not. Then we got the Red Sox again, Tigers again, Twins. We always take care of the Central, so don't worry about that. That covers a month. Okay, that's a difficult month, right? Then we get into the next step. The Rays. Forget about it. Then we got the Nationals. We should be okay. Dodgers, forget about it. We're going to get absolutely mauled. Pirates. I wonder if we got Paul Skeens during that.
Flip.
They've
had some good stretches.
If we face Skeens during that 3-game period, then we're cooked. Phillies, probably going to be cooked. White Sox, probably going to be cooked. Cubs, probably going to get cooked. Cardinals, probably going to get cooked. Braves, going to get cooked. That takes us to Aaron Judge period. So I'm sorry, there's a bunch of games right there we're going to get cooked. Even
how sad is it that
would say that we're probably going to get cooked in a lot of those games. So without him, now what I will say is what we're forgetting is Big G should be back at some point. Oh my God, Rumsfeld's hitting 286 with an 816 OPS on the under the 18 OPS plus. Yeah, he'd be nice right now. Great. But Big G should be back at some point. The question is when. Do we have any update as to when Big G is?
The last update I saw is he was taking live BP. Him and
I'll double check that right now.
Yeah. Well,
that was last night, so I don't know what else came out. No, it's with the schedule that they have, and with this roster, I don't care how optimistic you are. There's no way you could feel good about about the schedule until Judge is in the realm of coming back.
Facts.
I'm saying, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to bullshit myself, and I'm not going to bullshit the audience. This is not good.
No.
I hope that we can come in August 1st, do a show, and be like, what when Judge come back, right? Let's, for argument's sake, August 1st, he's in the lineup, and they're still in the same spot they are in the standings. I think that would be a freaking miracle.
It would.
There would be a lot of MVP votes for everybody on that roster.
And it could happen. It's unlikely, but it could.
No, like you said, we were doing the comp between with 23 and 2018. You hope that this can end up being a next man up situation,
right?
I don't see it right now.
No, I don't see it, Bob.
No, I hope so. I really do.
I just don't
Bob
see it. What have they got? What have they got, though? What have they got? They got a great starting lineup, but I mean, the starting pitching, but the lineup isn't enough. As Lucas says, you're going to milk that starting rotation, and I don't think anyone can rely on that. They've got one great hitter, maybe two. That's not enough. Did they call up Jones yet? Yes, they have. News they have called up.
Yeah, the roster move was made this morning.
Yes, they made a big roster move and they brought up Spencer Jones. As Jonathan says here, and Jonathan was the early bird, by the way, so shout out to Jonathan. Jack Curry, Spencer Jones will be recalled from AAA to take Aaron Judge's roster spot. So let's talk a little bit about Spencer Jones. Look at what do we need to see from Spencer Jones to feel confident that he can provide at least some requisite power.
Cut down. I think look at two things. Cut down in strikeouts. His timing has to be a lot better. That's one of the big things I noticed when he was up here. His timing was just off. It wasn't right. And guaranteed it wasn't going to be perfect upon being your first major league call-up. But now there's a lot of pressure on him, in my opinion, because you have the injury to Judge. Now you're going to have to play Grisham and Bellinger and Jones in the same core. It's going to be the timing for me that's going to make the difference. If he can get his timing at least halfway decent, you'll get some contributions from him. But until he fixes that, I'm a little unsure right now.
Me too. Normally, I would be really excited, but I have to say I was worried by his debut run. The good news is Jones has posted a 19 OPS in 10 games in AAA since being optioned. So the great news is, despite his struggles at the major league level, he's gone back down and he's still crushing it. So it's a great sign that because I was worried that his confidence would have gone shot, but it wasn't. He still contributed once he got demoted. So shows a great attitude from him. But I have to be honest, I was worried about his at-bats at the big league level. I was. And I'm saying this as a big Spencer Jones fan. I've been watching him his whole career. I love the kid. I'm excited by him. I'm excited by his raw power. I'm excited by his range and his glove. And that will still be there. And I'm excited by his speed too. Excited by a lot of things. But I'm worried about that batting stance. I'm worried about that stance. The swing, little clunky, but good power swing. It's that stance. That stance for me at the major league level, I just think that other teams are going to take advantage of it. I think it's just too much of a herky-jerky kind of a thing. It doesn't seem smooth. It doesn't seem natural. It feels unnatural. It feels mechanical. And when you have to think too much, when you're facing elite pitching, when you've got a tenth of a second at best to decipher whether it's going to be off speed, whether it's going to be four seam, whether it's going to cut, whether it's going to dive, you know what I'm saying? These kind of things, or whether it's going to be in or out of the strike zone. You've got tenths of a second at best to decipher all these things. But if you also have to change, you kind of have to go like that and then like that before we even get to a pitch being thrown. It doesn't feel natural to me. It just doesn't. Now, I'm not a batting coach, so it just feels like, the eye test. It just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't seem that the eye test says no. You know what I'm saying? Healing Man's Heart says Jones needs to choke up and shorten his swing. Yes, I do think he was swinging out of. He was swinging so hard that when he swung, his hat came off like that every single time. Do you guys notice that?
He just wants to show off his hair,
Well, that's it. That's it.
No,
That's,
look,
yeah,
I think
Uncle T. I was wanting to make you feel bad, Uncle T. But no, that's the truth. It's just like that's a classic sign of over swinging. He was swinging so hard that his helmet always seemed to fall off.
right.
I just
We had the conversation, at the at the end of his first run when he got sent back down. With the adjustments I want to see from him, I want to see a new batting stance. I think his batting mechanics are all over the place. It's almost like a kid car. It's put together one piece at a time, and it just doesn't run right. I think that. Well, the other thing I want to see is I want to be more comfortable at the plate.
mm-hmm.
He looked overwhelmed. I want him to
Mm-hmm.
come back being okay. I got my ass kicked my first go around. If I'm gonna have a future in this game, I need to make the adjustments. Take the advice from this is exactly where Goldschmidt can come into play. Right? That veteran bat that understands how to play to the stadium, and play to the dimensions. I think that's he needs not just a batting coach, he needs advice from his teammates, not just the coaching. Because I think the high bar is still there. It's just a little out of reach right now. And a lot of it is the mechanics of his swing. They're terrible. It almost looks like he's up there with a blindfold and he's not sure where everything is. Yeah, and that's a big problem.
We go YOLO, YOLO. Yankees need to play the fundamental game, lay off the power, and put the ball and play more. I agree with that. Also, Anthony Volpe was doing so well and say, shoot, I want to hit for more power, and he looked bad recently. Well, that's what the Yankees do, bro. Once they yankify somebody, once they get a hold of them and they yankify them, you're cooked. And they love their launch angle. Volpe is not a launch angle guy. Keep a level swing, and he is a productive hitter. If you give him a launch angle, he's the worst hitter in baseball. Next, Cashman will figure it out, fellas. Not his first rodeo. All he needs to do is leave the campsite, get back to Wi-Fi range, and we are good. We definitely needed some levity in these difficult times. And on that note, here's some levity. How about we do a little bit of this? Yo, hit the like button, hit the sub button, hit the share button, get your pens and pencils ready. We're going to do a very quick awards. No messing around. We're going to keep it quick, light and tight, and we're going to fire through the awards as fast as possible. Right. Luca, give me your MVP.
MVP. Well, I'm still going to say Ben Rice.
Okay. Probably not. There was not much going on, though. Let's see. We lost 9-4 and 5-4. Rice was 1 for 4 with a walk in game 1. And game 2, he was 1 for 4.
Can I swap that? I just thought about it. What about Caballero? I think that's a little more.
It's my baby boy. Yeah, Ben Rice didn't have a great series.
I'll actually say Caballero. I just thought about that. Like, yeah, that didn't sound too great.
So we got Caballero, 1 vote for Cabby. Uncle T.
Oh, Cabby had a great series. Yeah, there's one other person I think can get into the MVP ring, but I think the other person I had fits more into a different category. So I'll go with Caballero. He had a good series.
I'm gonna go with Paul Goldschmidt. even in the game that they lost 9-4, he was 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a home run. I mean, he was the entire offense in the 9-4 loss. 5-4 loss, he was 1 for 4. I'm very confident that I'm going to go with Paul Goldschmidt as my vote for MVP. Low-key MVP, Uncle T?
This one, I might get a little heat for this one, but I think that he actually had some good at bats and was productive to close the the series out. My low key, I'm going with Jazz.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. In fact, I'm going to put in that vote as well. Luca?
I'm gonna keep it unanimous. Jazz Chisholm.
Yep. I think he was great. And he needs to have a hell of a run over the summer. He needs to play like last year's Jazz in order to keep us even remotely afloat. Let's be honest. Clutch. Was there anybody clutch? Lost 2 out of 3.
Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
I had him and Cabby were neck and neck with the MVP.
Yeah.
But I thought that, that middle game, that 9-4 game, Goldschmidt, every time that we thought that we would it got away from us, Goldschmidt had to get back to bring us back into the game until just the pitching just imploded. But no, Goldschmidt, he's so freaking reliable right now. He's clutch.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Luca.
As I said, unanimous. I'll go with Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I am gonna also go Goldschmidt. Yeah, so that's the 3 of us gonna go clutch, Paul Goldschmidt. So MVP, Loki got the clutch done. Pitching award, Luca.
It's a good one. I mean, the bullpen wasn't great. I guess I'll say Carlos Rodon because he had the best start out of Garrett Cole and Cam Schiller. I'm gonna go Carlos Rodon, holding Cleveland to 1 run. Shout out to him, man.
Shout out to him. 6 innings pitched, just 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. And that was the winning outcome. So shout out to Rodon. Exactly. He's coming back. He's starting to look better now. Last couple starts. Uncle T.
Yeah, Rodon. When you have a series where you're starting 3 or Schlittler, Cole, and Rodon's the one that actually gets you to win. No, that puts you in a different. That's a great end of the series. Avoids the sweep. Just completely shut down a lineup that was hot. Not easy to do. So, Rodon was phenomenal.
Unanimous. Now the next one. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. You're my boy, Blue. The answer is, you know who it is. It has to be. It's one and only Caballero. That's for me. Luca.
I can't say Cam Schlittler anymore, so I'm going to say Paul Goldschmidt. I'll switch it up. I'll say the 40-year-old. I don't know. Good. What's the phrase? Something about old. Good old Goldschmidt. I guess I'll call it. Say good old Goldschmidt. I had to think of a superlative for him. Good old Goldschmidt. Uncle
T.
Nah, it's Goldschmidt. I said it before. I've never, he's that player right now that's defeating Father Time. He shouldn't be, going through stretches like this. He should be mediocre. But he's kind of, dipped into, the fountain of youth, and is really, he looks like he did when he was in his prime right now. So, for representing us old people really well, Goldschmidt's my boy Blue.
Goldie. How about that? We'll go Goldie. I'm going to call him Golden Goldie. Golden Oldie. He is the Golden Oldie. Best Yankee pod, Pinstripe Chronicles, not even a contest. Mwah! Love you, Healing Mans. Thank you so much. Right. Let's move on to Aaron Boone, everyone's favorite manager. Let's start with Uncle T.
Most of the damage, there was a lot of damage done in the first 2 games with the starting pitching. Not the 2 guys you would expect to have a tough outing. can't really hold. You didn't. I'm going down the middle. I'm going to go 5.
John the Beagle Dad's giving him a 3. Look at
I'll give him a 6.
okay. Lost the series. Again, he's having to manage it with an Aaron Judge. That's difficult. Didn't get the kind of starts that he thought he was going to get from Cam Schlittler. Hard to overly criticize Boone on this, so I'm going to give him a 5. Let's move on to the L. Everyone's favorite award. Who's getting the L? I'm sure there's plenty to go around since we lost 2 out of 3. Luca, how would you break down the L?
I could say Anthony Volpe because he slumped. I could say Austin Wells. I'm actually going to go Camilo Doval. That inning against the Guardians, the first game, was horrific. It was just like it got worse and worse and worse watching him pitch.
It's a good one. Uncle TT.
No, I'm giving this one to Tim Hill. Duval is worse than an L. So I'm going with Tim Hill. He was the guy that we really expected to rely on at the tail end of the bullpen with Cruz and Bednar. He's having a tough year. He's been overused, so I don't want to overdo it with the criticism, but he's got to be better in these spots. So he's getting the L.
So I'm going to go with Austin Wells. 0 for 7 in this series. 0 for 4 and 0 for 3. And then he was benched for the last game. He is a disaster. It's getting worse for Austin Wells. 0 for 7. Let's see what his numbers are now. Anthony Volpe was just as horrific, but I expect that from him. I was expecting him to go down to earth a little bit. Austin Wells, however, is now batting 169. And that's not a sexual position. That is literally just a terrible, terrible bat. That is just a terrible, terrible offensive player. He is just a terrible, terrible player. Austin Wells, what a guy. And he's getting worse. He is getting worse. He is getting worse. It's not getting better. He gets the L. Right, let's move on to the final award. And you know which one it is. We have been waiting for it. It's this one. The fiery depths of Aaron Hicks hell. The Aaron Hicks Award. Now soon to be the Austin Anthony Aaron Hicks Award. Yes. Luca, who gets your Aaron Hicks?
I'm going to say the Yankees catching room as a whole. That's got to be the worst catching room in all of baseball and probably the Yankees' worst catching room since 2013. I kid you not. When the Yankees had Chris Stewart and Austin Romine, I think Cervelli for a time. That was awful. This is way worse. This is way worse. So I'll say
you missed Cervelli right now.
I will say Austin Wells and JC Escara as a collective for a catcher room. Absolute abomination. They're both left-handed too, which is worse.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Thanks, Cashman.
No, the catching overall, that's a good one. This is where I'm giving it to Duval. No matter what the situation is when we bring him in, it's just nothing but frustration. He was supposed to be an anchor, to the rotation, but he's an anchor in the wrong direction. He's holding everything back. So it's Duval just trash.
Yeah, that anchor snap.
JK, not with my knees. You don't want me behind the plate.
That anchor snapped and that boot be drifting. Yeah, it's gone bad for Duval, and he is my Aaron Hicks. Camilo Duval is a disgrace. It was an awful trade, and it's getting worse. It only gets worse for Camilo Duval. no words can really appropriately describe how much of a disgrace he's been this year. But a 6.04 ERA as a setup man pretty much tells you the story.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly. It's an absolute disgrace. He should be ashamed of himself, and he should be on the next rocket to the moon. That will be the end of my segment, and let's all round it off with some final thoughts. Let's start with Luca. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. We'll see how the Yankees do, and we'll see what more rumors surface. I just want to do a quick shameless plug. Tonight, it is Game 2 of the NBA Finals. I'll be streaming the game with Donald. Game 2, 8:30 p.m. Could be a must. I think it could be a must-win for the Spurs, but
it is a must-win for the Spurs.
It's a must-win for the Spurs, but more importantly, I like to take 2 on the road in San Antonio. So shameless plug. Even if you're not a basketball fan, head it over to Knicks Cast 8:30 p.m. tonight.
Amen. Shameless plug. Amen. It's going to be an unbelievable blast. You are going to see some raw emotions. Me and Luca were speechless when the Knicks came back from 14 down.
I was speechless.
Yes, we were just trying to catch our breath. I had my I was emotional. I was literally emotional. It's been all my life I've been waiting on the Knicks to be in this stage. It's unbelievable. Shout out to the Knicks. Uncle T, final thoughts.
I'm amending my MVP. I'm giving it to Leon Rose, to showing New York how they can build the fucking team that can win. It doesn't. You don't need all the bells and whistles. You just need people that are going to gel. This is camaraderie on steroids right now of what the Knicks can do. You got a guy playing with a broken finger, no problem. You got one guy that was told he's too small to play basketball. He's kicking the shit out of everybody. They can't stop him. Players that are not supposed to be. When you're. I don't know how many players were on the bench, to be honest with you. I'm going to say when your 12th man is I forget who it was, put up 13 points, right? You're destined to just win. It's the next year, and nothing is taking that. I don't think there's nothing that can take that away.
I gotta jump in real quick. Brian Cashman actually gave Leon Rose praise a couple days ago. I forget exactly what he said, but he actually gave Leon Rose praise.
I want to be like him when I grow up. That's what he said.
Is that what he said?
No.
Let me double check what he said.
Dude, if he said that, then I would have literally given Brian Cashman the MVP. If he said that, if he moved his incredible ego aside and actually said that, I would have given him the MVP award.
But yeah, that's my final thought. I've never paid this much attention to basketball in my life. And I don't care what people, on the streets and on the radio, call me whatever you want, bandwagon. Look, I am a New Yorker, and the New York team is in a championship run. I want to see it happen.
Amen, bro. Amen.
He praised him for the job that he has done while not speaking to the media. Because, Tats, Leon Rose is infamous for not holding any press conferences, but Brian Cashman quote this is from Ian O'Connor, The Athletic. Mm-hmm. Not in this town, Yankee general manager Brian Cashman said when discussing whether he could do the job without speaking to the media. But the bottom line isn't how you communicate publicly. It's not what you say, it's what you do. And what Leon Rose has done is transformational.
Yeah, I mean,
he should take his own fucking advice.
He should take his own advice. Thank you. I'd actually be all right if Cashman didn't speak and say something that pissed me off. Just actually do some work.
No, because he has to keep
the winner. You did nothing in the winner. That's why this team sucks. Thank you, Cashman. Right.
Yeah, he has to keep justifying all these stupid moves he makes.
No. He did nothing in the winner. Jesus Christ. Take your own advice, Cashman. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking ball with everybody. Much love to everyone. Have a wonderful day. Shout out to Chef Nick. Healing Men's Hearts, Cashman is such an ass. And on that note, we will sign off. Uncle T, what's your favorite saying?
Hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out, your friends, your family. The Trainers on the Corner. I'm Uncle Taz with Donald, Luca, and all of you great people. Let's go, Knicks. Wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Yo!